we ask most people about hiring, they're in the mindset that it's really tough and that it's a huge time suck and can be really difficult and generally just sucks. It can, but I also believe that if you have a process for it, it can be very, very rewarding. And you can streamline it and find really quality people and attract them if you follow a process. And first of all, it's going to be impossible to hire at scale. If you're growing quickly, it's going to be impossible to hire at scale if you don't have a process. Basically, from 2012 to 2014, the company that I worked at, I was one of the first employees, and we grew a ton. During that time, hired over 30 people over 1.5 years. So we're bringing in 2 people a month for a year and a half, and built out a whole sales team. I also have hired countless contractors when I was building my agency, and to be able to manage that and be able to grow that part of the business really came down to a process. And this has been kind of trial and error for a long time, but I've got some good stuff that have come out with that. So here is the 3-step process that I use. Step 1 is to really create an intriguing job post. Now, the reason I say this is because I really believe that the goal, I'm going to put one of you guys on and put you on mute here. I don't know who's, there we go. So one of the big goal with this is to attract as many qualified people as possible. When you're going out and you got a role that you want to fill, I want to attract as many qualified people as possible, and I want to repel everybody else. And I talk a little bit about that specifically. That's the goal. I think that the biggest mistake that people make is not spending enough time turning a job application into a really compelling story. It's super competitive right now to hire people, right? There's a lot of companies that are hiring, and they're offering a lot of perks. So really, when you're looking at coming up with a competitive advantage, your competitive advantage has to start in the job description and telling the story of your company, telling the story of who you are, who the company is, and really narrowing down on the type of person that would be attracted to your business. You want to build your tribe, and the way to do that is to create a compelling narrative about what you care about and repel the people who don't care about that same thing. And in this process, as you're going through and you want to figure out what exactly to put in your job description, first thing I do is identify basically exactly what people need to be able to do for the job. I'm going to walk through a couple examples of what I mean by that. But really, I like to break it down and go through a hiring analysis and figure out what do people actually need to do. Well, they need to be able to type emails. They need to be able to do customer support. Is it a marketing role where they need to run Facebook ads? What is it exactly? And I have, if you're watching this in the membership, there's going to be links out to each one of these example job postings. So hiring for the first one, it's just been a really successful job post that I've run for and hired a bunch of people with, which is the right-hand woman/man position, kind of like a marketing apprentice. Example 2 is, it's kind of, the first one's a generalist, somebody who can come in and is highly capable and can learn. Example number 2 is, it's going to be in there as a UI designer. Example 3 is a front-end developer. Example 4, all-star bookkeeper. So they're all in a similar format, but there's exact examples that you can pull and use, modify to help your business if you're hiring for any of these roles, or take it and use the template to hire for something else. So first step, right, when I talk about the compelling narrative and calling people out, this is the beginning of a post. This is the beginning of the right-hand man or right-hand woman job post. And I've had a ton of success hiring people directly off of Craigslist, but there's lots of different places to post this type of role. But the key is that it's written in the form almost like a sales letter, where it's calling out to the right people and repelling the wrong people. So the example is, a title: hungry, web savvy, wannabe entrepreneurial superstar needed. So it's coming in and it's very clearly telling you exactly who this is for. It's a dream role designed specifically for the high achieving, web savvy college graduate who believes there's more to life than getting a job at a mega corporation and counting down the days until retirement or layoffs. So I'm fully calling out the person that this should connect with, and it's also repelling everybody else who's not that type of person, right? And as you go down in this intro, there's a couple things that I'd like to focus on, which is this paragraph here. It says, if you've always been technologically inclined and would like to take those skills to the next level, while at the same time learning crucial entrepreneurial and marketing skills, this could be the opportunity that you're looking for. So this is clearly calling out to the right person, and it's repelling the wrong people. When you're writing your headline, when you're writing the intro paragraph, this is really important to call out the people that you want to be attracted to this, and just get rid of everybody else. From there, I go into making sure to really tell a story about why this is an interesting job, right? This is something that I feel like the biggest failure in hiring is that people will not take the time to write a sales letter for a job that they're trying to bring somebody into. So I always tell my story. I go through and I say, like, but before I tell you about the opportunity, I should probably introduce myself. I tell my story about who I am. My first job was a right-hand man position. It changed my life. I was able to work with somebody who was extremely smart, had a lot of experience in marketing, and I was just thrown in to this company where I learned how to build an online business. And that was so successful for me. Everyone's going to have something interesting to share about themselves. And this is really your opportunity to attract your tribe. If you are, if you have a supplement business, you want to bring in somebody who's interested in health and nutrition. If you have a company that is, your market is mothers, and you want to have as many mothers that are connected to your business, you can call that out in that specific section. Share why it's unique, and why your business is special, and why you're special. I'll also then go down and in this, I'll do a couple things where I'm very, very intentional. I will put in a section that says skills we're looking for, bonus skills, and who it's not for. And rather than getting too focused on, a lot of times people will put down a bunch of bullet points based off of experience. I would rather open it up to people and focus more on capability than experience. So all of these are designed to elicit a response from somebody. Somebody who's a self-starter won't take no for an answer. That's somebody who can, if they identify as that is something that they can clearly identify. This number one is hungry to learn about marketing and entrepreneurship. This is the one that I really care about the most, so I lead with it. Down here, I also will put in, someone who thinks that who's it's not for, someone who thinks that learning is over when school is over. This section is just as important as the section above. I want it to really repel certain people, and I'm calling that out. And then I hire a location independent. So that's a huge advantage. If you can do that, you're going to be able to bring in better people because you don't have to hire them directly in your location. I'll talk about where we post, but this is a good example of kind of how I go through this. From there, I'm very, very strict about how people apply. This is really important, and I'll talk about why later on. But just to give you an example, this is usually how I'll have, for that job, I had people go through, write a cover letter, and answer questions, specific questions. So why I think they'd be an amazing right-hand woman or man, answer why the last 3 books that they read, what they do for fun, explain what they're doing for work now and why you're looking elsewhere. And then I also had them turn this into one document. So I'm always forcing people to do things that let me know they're tech savvy, because we run internet businesses. So people need to be generally tech savvy. So I'll have them create one document, Word or PDF, and that contains all in one. And I don't want people sending me both of them. Then they'll apply. So that's the first initial thing. With that, I will always include somewhere on the application, whether it's for a full-time role, whether it's for a contract role, an Upwork, freelancer, VA, doesn't matter. I'll always include a disqualification section or I call it a tripwire. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So here's an example. So somewhere on the page, I will say something like, please start your application with, hi, Austin, I'm the all-star right-hand woman you're looking for. So the reason I do this, and this is something that I was just talking to Mike Danner, who has hired about 50 people for Dr. Axe. And we were just talking about this specific thing, these tripwires. The reason I do this is because by including these specific instructions, you'll be able to tell who's detail oriented and who isn't. If they're not detail oriented on the application process, they're never going to be detail oriented in your business. It's the most important time for them to be detail oriented. And if they miss stuff like this, it's an automatic red flag. So this is a tripwire. You can do a lot of different things, but this example of, there's a couple other ones. I'll talk about Comcast later. But anyway, just for round one, put in a tripwire, put in something like this, and have specific instructions that'll let you know that someone is detail-oriented or not. For contract work, I like to include a description of the workflow and ask them to comment on it with their thoughts. So something like this, walk people through a workflow. And for all of these, I have links below the video in the membership. So if you're in the membership and you're watching this, there's going to be links below to all of these things. You can kind of pull and use them for your own hiring process. But basically, I'll have a workflow, and I'll tell I'll talk about the work style, what types of things they're going to be doing, and I'll ask for comments. Generally, the people that, if they're commenting on it with some thoughtful, something thoughtful, that's a good sign. It's also one of the filters I look for. So once you've got your job post, you got to get as much visibility on it as possible. So there's a bunch of places that I have posted. I mentioned Craigslist. I've had a lot of success with Craigslist over the years, especially if you're hiring locally. But there's a lot of different places you can post. So places like Upwork, if you're looking for contract work, jobrack.eu, again, more contract designer, developer work from Eastern Europe. A lot of people have had success with this one. I talked to a lot of people recently about that. eCommerce Fuel Jobs is a place you could post. Growth Hackers is a community. If you're hiring for somebody in the growth space, that's where a lot of people hang out. Marketers hang out. So it's a good place to post. Obviously, LinkedIn, Escape the City, TopTal for talent, and then Dribbble. Dribbble is a great place to hire designers. You can go and look at people's portfolios and reach out and try to hire from there. So, but key is get as much visibility as possible. Going back to what I was telling you about, I was talking to Mike Danner from Dr. Axe about hiring. One of the ways that they have hired most of their people has been to write a job post and then to reach out to people that are highly qualified, that he knows that are highly qualified, and ask that person if they know anybody who'd be interested in this role, and mention, it's going to be a big challenge. It's got to be a top person. Can't just be anybody, but for the right person, this could be a fantastic job. So, and then he'll reach out to people that are highly qualified, and it kind of turns something on in their brain. They're like, well, that actually could be me. I could be the one that takes over. So through your referral network, emailing people, asking them if they know anybody, those are the best ways. But you really got to get some visibility on your ad.